guys, so today I wanted to do a follow-up to the first literature circle video I did where I talked about how I use literature circles in my classroom, and today I wanted to share with you some of the main types of books that I use for my literature circles. So today I'm going to talk about 3 different sets that I use. And what's great about these is you could mix and match them if you wanted, but I'm going with just kind of a general genre for these sets of books. So the first genre that I always start literature circles with is dystopian or post-apocalyptic, whatever you want to kind of focus in on. That's usually the thing that I start with because the students, even those reluctant readers, are really going to grab on to the titles that you let them choose from. So I'm just going to go through the ones that I use. So Hunger Games was probably the first one I used, which is just obviously such a great book. It's rich with so many things that you can do with it. I don't necessarily use this as an option every year, and in fact I only brought this one back this past year because I felt like it had been enough time since the movies had come out that a lot of the students that I was getting hadn't really had any kind of experience with this book. But this one is obviously the one that kind of started the whole dystopian craze being popular. So I always like to have this one as part of that set of books. Some other books that the students really like, the City of Ember. This one is more leaning toward middle grade, and I do teach 7th grade, so I like to have a mix of obviously reading level for literature circle books, and I also like to have maybe just a mix of interest. So this one is just a really good read. You've got a boy and a girl kind of main characters, Lena and Dune, so that's really something that appeals to a lot of the students. One of my favorites, and a lot of the students' favorites, is Legend. And this one again has a boy and girl point of view. It's set in a futuristic city called, I believe it's called the Republic, but it's basically like a futuristic California. There's a military element to this one, and I mean it's one of those books that just keeps you wanting to read. The way the chapters end, and you get a lot of cliffhanger endings in the chapters. And I would say out of all of the dystopian books I teach, this one is probably one of the most popular with my students. Uglies, this one I've been doing since I started literature circles, so you can tell this one is very loved, and I honestly need to get another set of these. But it's Scott Westerfield, and this takes on the idea of plastic surgery, and in this society that's what you do when you turn 16. You get plastic surgery so you look pretty instead of ugly. So it takes on that idea, which is a cool way in a dystopian that I really hadn't seen before, of a society that obviously values looks above everything else. And this one is also one that when you kind of read the description to the kids and talk about it a little bit, you may get some interest, but I find that once the students actually that do choose this book get into reading it, they realize that it really is such a good book. All right, the next one is Life as We Knew It, and this one probably is my favorite out of all of them. And this one really leans more towards a post-apocalyptic type novel. Some places I look at it does categorize it as dystopian, but this one it's what I explain to the students when I pitch this book. It's a very slow burn book, so if you want a lot of like action-packed stuff to happen, that's not going to be this book. The premise is an asteroid hits the moon and it changes all the weather and patterns and the way obviously people live and survive. There's a lot of survival elements to this book as well, but it follows a girl, I believe she's 16, and it's told kind of through her diary entries of what's happening when the moon first hits, when the asteroid first hits the moon, and kind of on from there, and how things, people try to keep it normal at first, and then it obviously doesn't happen that way. I also like the idea of things happening naturally that I would never have thought the moon would have any kind of impact on, so that's a really cool element. It's a very dark book as far as just like, I mean, she is really trying to survive, so she kind of pulls you in that emotion. The author does a great job of really making you feel what the characters are going through. So this one is Life as We Knew It. My other pick is Matched, and this one is a great one that is super futuristic. In this society, they have to go by list of certain things. So there's like only 100 books that they can read, or only 100 songs that they can listen to. Society, what it has picked for them is the best, and you know, it's very, very dystopian and futuristic. And then they're matched with who they're supposed to marry, and the main girl, Kasia, is accidentally matched with somebody else, and then it switches on her match card to her friend that she thought she wanted to be matched with. So there's a little bit of a love triangle. This one, out of all of the books that I've suggested, if your students are looking for more of that romantic element in a story, this one's probably going to be the best one for that. But even just the world building in this novel is really good, and it's different than a lot of the other books that I've read as well. So that's matched. And then the last one is Gone. And this one, and I always tell my students, this one is the longest. It's super long, but if that doesn't bother you, this is a really good book. You have a lot of characters in this book. They're kind of elements of superhero type powers that emerge with the characters. So the premise of this book is one day everybody's just having a normal day, they're in school, and then all of a sudden all the adults disappear, and so everybody under the age of 15 is left and they have to survive. So you've got Lord of the Flies type elements here. You've got what I like to say is superhero elements with powers that start to emerge. And you've got kids who are trying to figure out how to survive and form groups. And it's got a whole series of books after it. In fact, I believe all of these are series, and that's another reason I like to start with these books, is because, you know, if you get the students hooked on the first book, a lot of them will seek out the next in the series to go and read and keep reading. So that one's Gone. So those are my dystopian or post-apocalyptic themed books that I like to use the first time I introduce literature circles to my students. Thanks for watching. Bye.